It is a moment forever frozen in time, a memory indelibly etched upon the minds of millions. Most of us would be hard-pressed to say exactly where we were at any given time last Friday. But on that Friday, November 22nd, 1963, everyone who was around that day remembers exactly where they were and what they were doing when they heard the news that President Kennedy had been killed. Bill Newman remembers. He didn't hear the news, he saw it. It happened right in front of his eyes here at Dealey Plaza. Newman and his wife Gail first told their stories on Dallas television station WFAA.
And then as the car got directly in front of us with a third shot rang out, and the president was hit in the side of the head, and I recall seeing the side of his head and his ear fly off, and I turned to Gail and said, "That's it," hit the ground, and we covered our two children.
Newman thought the shots had come from the grassy knoll. Directly across the street was Dallas schoolteacher Jean Hill. That's her in the red coat.
I heard from 4 to 6 shots, saw a gun blast from back behind the fence up the knoll.
A group of Dallas researchers known collectively as the JFK Research Center have come up with a theory which places at least 4 gunmen at Dealey Plaza that day. From a shell casing found atop the county records building years later, they place a gunman there. Another at the school book depository. And over here on the grassy knoll, 2 more gunmen. One in the middle behind the fence, another on this end. This, by the way, is where Jean Hill was standing. Next to her, a woman by the name of Mary Mormon was taking a Polaroid photograph. Dallas researchers claim to have found new evidence from this old snapshot by blowing up a tiny section of the picture, where Jean Hill says she saw the flash of a gunshot. Larry Howard of the JFK Research Center shows us the result.
This is the gun blast. This is the bridge of his nose. This is his eye. This is his hairline. There's an ear. His neck comes down. He's got a semicircular patch on his shoulder and a bright object on his chest. He's in a Dallas police uniform. If the calculations of the picture in relation to where the gunman was, he would be standing approximately on this car bumper, looking directly like this, just like that, looking directly across the top of the wall, and exactly where Kennedy's car was at the time of the headshot.
You be the judge. Is this an assassin disguised as a policeman, or a coincidental pattern created by sunlight shining through the trees? Jean Hill has an opinion on that. She ran up the knoll after the last shot and saw something she didn't think suspicious at the time.
When I got up there and looked back that way, there was a policeman back there in uniform and with a gun.
What kind of gun are we talking about?
Some sort of a rifle type gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, long gun.
Those who claim conspiracy say there were no officers assigned in that location and that the policeman who ran up there after the shooting arrived after Jean Hill. The official government investigation of the assassination done by the Warren Commission concluded there was no conspiracy, that 3 shots were fired from the school book depository, all by Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald was, of course, killed by Jack Ruby, fueling suspicion that he was silenced because he knew too much. That was certainly the belief of New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, who secured an indictment against Louisiana businessman Clay Shaw, the only man ever charged with conspiracy in the assassination. Garrison felt anti-Castro Cubans said the CIA carried out the assassination because Kennedy did not support the invasion of Cuba at the Bay of Pigs.
The Pentagon killings include not just John Kennedy, but Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, and the Kent State killings, all of which were necessary for the Pentagon in order to maintain its primacy here in the country.
In 1969, Garrison prosecuted Clay Shaw, trying him on flimsy evidence. Shaw was found innocent.
Do you think that even the decision in your case will put an end to the kind of raw speculation that continues?
No, I don't think so. I think that the reasons people tend to believe in conspiracies lie at a much deeper level than evidence, because there's been no evidence.
A few years after this interview, new evidence did surface. A police officer's 2-way radio microphone was on at the time of the shooting. The sound of the gunshots was transmitted and recorded. Acoustical analysis indicated 4 shots instead of 3 and placed a gunman on the knoll. The House Select Committee on Assassinations concluded there was a possibility of conspiracy. The acoustical evidence was later refuted, but theories continue to abound.
I've come to the conclusion recently that the Kennedy assassination is kind of like this country's equivalent of the Jack the Ripper case in England.
Psychiatrists will tell you the search for conspiracy is only human, and this is a case where everyone can play detective.
We tend to look for the drama. The simple things simply won't suffice. I mean, it has to be more complicated than that. That's the feeling. There has to be more than that. This can't be a simple evil. This has to be something much more profound and complicated, complex for it to have occurred the way it did.
Each year, 500,000 people come to Dealey Plaza in search of answers. At the School Book Depository, now the seat of Dallas County government, the 6th floor is being turned into a museum. It is something tourists have wanted for years, but perhaps it took Dallas a bit longer to come to terms with its ominous place in history.
We have a guest book in our lobby here, and a woman from England wrote the most poignant little piece. She said this is a very sad corner of Dallas, but it's a part of America that belongs to the whole world. We all live part of our lives here.
Ann Casey of Boston left part of her life here that day. This is her first visit to Dealey Plaza.
An eerie feeling, thinking that 25 years ago people were standing here watching him go through triumphantly, and a few minutes later they rushed him to Parkland Hospital, and that was the end.
For 25 years, people have come here in search of what they lost that day, as they look for answers and wonder what might have been. In Dallas, Norm Ewell, 11 News.